First contact gone wrong. The Galactic Confederation had existed for 37,000 years. 17 sentient species bound together through mutual cooperation, trade, and a shared belief in their inherent superiority over the primitive species that populated the galaxy's outer arms. They had watched Earth for centuries, observing humanity's violent history with a mixture of fascination and disgust. Humans were considered unstable, unpredictable, fascinating specimens, but ultimately too dangerous to welcome into the fold of civilized space. Admiral Vextar of the Confederation's diplomatic corps disagreed. Standing on the bridge of the massive diplomatic vessel Enlightenment, the tall, six-limbed alien watched Earth grow larger in the viewscreen. "Prepare for atmospheric entry," Vextar commanded, his translator converting his clicks and whistles into standardized Confederation language for his multi-species crew. Remember, these humans have never encountered extraterrestrial life. Their reaction will determine their fate. The Enlightenment descended through Earth's atmosphere in full view of the planet's population. Panic ensued initially, as expected, but within days, Earth's governments had organized a diplomatic welcome. First contact proceedings began at the United Nations headquarters in New York, broadcast to billions of humans worldwide. "We come in peace," Vextar announced to the assembly of world leaders. "The Galactic Confederation has observed your species for centuries. You stand at a crossroads. Join us, and we will guide you toward enlightenment." What Vextar failed to mention was the price of this guidance: the surrender of Earth's sovereignty, the implementation of Confederation law, and the gradual implementation of population controls to curb humanity's dangerous tendencies. When the full terms were presented in private to Earth's Security Council, the human response was not what the Confederation expected. "These terms amount to surrender," said General Amara Davis, chair of Earth's Joint Military Command. "You're asking us to give up our independence and allow alien oversight of our civilization." Vextar's upper limbs twitched in annoyance. "You misunderstand. We offer protection and guidance. Your species is dangerously unpredictable. These measures ensure galactic stability." "And if we refuse?" asked the UN Secretary-General. "Then you remain isolated, quarantined," Vextar answered, "for the safety of all." The meeting ended in deadlock. For 3 days, negotiations continued while Confederation anthropologists studied human behavior up close for the first time. What they observed disturbed them. Humans were more adaptable, more curious, and more militaristic than their long-range studies had indicated. Several advisors urged Vextar to withdraw and recommend full quarantine. On the 4th day, disaster struck. A radical human faction, fearing alien domination, launched an attack on the Confederation embassy. 3 diplomatic aides were killed before security forces neutralized the threat. Vextar needed no further justification. The Enlightenment ascended that night, breaking orbit without warning. Within hours, the Confederation Council received his report. Humans were too dangerous for peaceful integration. The official recommendation was to establish a permanent military blockade of the Sol system. The Confederation Council went further. Citing the unprovoked attack and irreconcilable biological aggression in human DNA, they formally declared humanity a threat to galactic peace. Their response: not just containment, but eradication. 1 month later, the first Confederation warships arrived in Earth's solar system. Earth's military was woefully unprepared. Confederation vessels appeared without warning near Mars, destroying the research stations there as a demonstration of power. When Earth's combined fleet responded, their most advanced weapons, rail guns, nuclear missiles, and laser arrays, barely scratched the Confederation shields. "Their technology is centuries beyond ours," General Davis informed the emergency session of the UN Security Council. "Our entire orbital defense network was neutralized in 6 hours. We've lost 70% of our space-based military assets. What options do we have?" asked the Chinese premier. Davis hesitated. "There is one possibility: Project Thunderchild. Thunderchild was humanity's best-kept secret, an experimental warship developed using recovered alien technology from a crash site in Antarctica decades earlier. Unlike conventional human vessels, Thunderchild utilized principles of physics that Earth scientists had only begun to understand. Its propulsion system, weapons, and defensive capabilities were cobbled together from alien tech and human innovation. Untested, unpredictable, but potentially humanity's only hope. "The ship isn't ready," warned Dr. Elena Volkov, the project's lead scientist. "We've barely completed the integration of the alien power core with our systems. It could fail catastrophically." "We don't have a choice," Davis replied. "The Confederation fleet will reach lunar orbit in 48 hours. Once they establish a foothold there, Earth is finished." The decision was made. Thunderchild would launch immediately under the command of Captain Maya Chen, a decorated veteran of the Mars Colonial Security Force, and one of the few humans who had extensive experience with zero-G combat operations. Captain Chen stood in Thunderchild's command center, a retrofitted chamber deep within the experimental vessel. Unlike traditional military ships with their ordered bridge layouts, Thunderchild's nerve center was a chaotic blend of human interfaces and salvaged alien technology. Status report: Chen ordered as the skeleton crew of 50, all volunteers, prepared for launch. Main power at 87% and holding, reported Lieutenant Takashi, her executive officer. Defensive systems online. Weapons systems responding, but stability is questionable. Navigation is functional. Chen nodded, studying the tactical display showing the approaching Confederation armada. 17 vessels, each larger than anything humanity had ever constructed, moving in perfect formation toward Earth. "They think we're defenseless," Chen said quietly. "They expect surrender." "Are we going to surrender, Captain?" asked a young ensign at the communication station. Chen's expression hardened. "Humanity doesn't surrender. We adapt. We fight. We survive." She turned to her XO. "Prepare for launch. We'll rendezvous with what's left of the Lunar Defense Fleet and coordinate a counterattack." Thunderchild rose from its underground hangar in the Atacama Desert, its hull gleaming with an otherworldly sheen. Unlike the bulky utilitarian designs of normal human spacecraft, Thunderchild was sleek, almost predatory in appearance, a fusion of human engineering and alien aesthetics. As it accelerated toward orbit, Confederation long-range sensors detected the launch. Admiral Corval, commanding the invasion fleet, observed the approaching vessel with mild curiosity. Another primitive human craft, he noted dismissively. Intercept and destroy. The Confederation destroyer Inevitable Justice broke formation and moved to engage, its weapons systems powering up for what should have been a simple elimination. Aboard Thunderchild, Captain Chen watched the approaching destroyer with grim determination. "All hands, battle stations," she ordered. "Activate the Spectre drive." The experimental drive, reverse-engineered from the Antarctic crash site, engaged with a subspatial distortion that rippled through local space. Thunderchild vanished from conventional sensors, reappearing moments later behind the Confederation destroyer. "Weapons hot," Chen commanded. "Let's show them humanity's answer to extinction." Thunderchild fired. The turning point. The first shots from the experimental human warship caught the Confederation completely by surprise. Thunderchild's main weapon wasn't based on conventional physics. It didn't fire projectiles, lasers, or plasma. Instead, it generated localized ruptures in space-time, tearing through the destroyer's shields as if they weren't there and ripping massive gashes in its hull. Aboard the Confederation flagship Righteous Dominion, Admiral Corval watched in stunned silence as the destroyer Inevitable Justice listed helplessly, atmosphere venting from multiple breaches. "Impossible," he whispered, his 4 eyes blinking rapidly in the Confederation expression of extreme shock. "Scan that human vessel. What technology are they using?" His science officer worked frantically at the sensor array. "Unknown, Admiral. Their weapon signature doesn't match anything in our database. It appears to be manipulating fundamental forces in ways we don't understand. Corval's mandibles clicked in agitation. All vessels, concentrate fire on the human ship. Destroy it immediately. The Confederation Armada responded, 12 vessels simultaneously targeting Thunderchild with their most powerful weapons. Energy beams and graviton torpedoes converged on the human vessel's position. Captain Chen had anticipated this response. Spectre Drive, Random Jump Pattern Alpha. Thunderchild phased in and out of normal space, reappearing briefly at unpredictable coordinates around the Confederation fleet. Each appearance was accompanied by another devastating attack before the ship vanished again. How are they doing this? Demanded Corval, as a second Confederation vessel reported critical damage. No primitive species has ever developed phase-shifting technology. The answer became increasingly clear. Humans were not as primitive as the Confederation had believed. Somehow, they had developed or acquired technology that rivaled or even surpassed Confederation capabilities in certain areas. As the battle continued, news of Thunderchild's success spread across Earth's communication networks. Humanity, facing extinction just hours earlier, now dared to hope. If one experimental ship could fight the alien armada to a standstill, what might an entire fleet of similar vessels accomplish? Deep in Earth's secret research facilities, Dr. Volkov watched the battle telemetry with growing excitement. The Spectre Drive is performing beyond our projections, she told General Davis, and the quantum disruptor is more effective against their shields than we anticipated. How quickly can we replicate this technology? Davis asked. With Thunderchild's combat data, we can accelerate production significantly, Volkov replied. The hardest part was integrating the Antarctic artifacts with our systems. Now that we've proven the concept works, begin immediate production, Davis ordered. Every shipyard, every manufacturing facility worldwide. If Chen can keep them occupied long enough, we might have a fighting chance. Back in orbit, Thunderchild had destroyed 3 Confederation vessels and disabled 2 others. But the experimental ship wasn't unscathed. Multiple systems were failing under the strain of combat operations, and the Spectre Drive was becoming increasingly unstable with each jump. Power fluctuations in the main core, reported Lieutenant Takashi. We can't maintain this pace much longer, Captain. Chen studied the tactical display. The remaining Confederation ships had adopted a defensive formation, making it harder for Thunderchild to isolate individual targets. They were adapting to human tactics, something the Confederation had never needed to do before when encountering lesser species. They're learning, Chen observed. Good. So are we. She opened a channel to Earth Command. General Davis, Thunderchild has their attention, but we need to press the advantage. Request any available support. Davis's response was grim but determined. We're mobilizing everything we have left, Captain. But it's not much. Can you hold them? Chen looked around at her crew, exhausted but resolute, the best humanity had to offer. We'll do what humans have always done, General. We'll find a way. Her tactical officer, Lieutenant Rivera, suddenly straightened. Captain, I'm detecting unusual energy signatures from the lunar dark side. Multiple contacts emerging. They're Confederation ships. A second Confederation fleet had arrived, reinforcements responding to Corval's distress call. 23 additional warships, larger and more heavily armed than the first wave. All hands, prepare for. Chen began, but Rivera interrupted. Captain, they're not targeting us. They're attacking the first Confederation fleet. On the main display, the newly arrived ships opened fire on Admiral Corval's vessels. Confederation fought Confederation in a chaotic battle that none of Thunderchild's crew could comprehend. A communication request chimed on Chen's console. Cautiously, she accepted. The image of a Confederation officer appeared, but unlike the others they'd encountered, this one had distinctive blue markings on its exoskeleton and wore what appeared to be ceremonial armor. Human vessel, I am Commander Zexral of the Reformation Fleet, the alien announced. We offer temporary alliance against the purification force commanded by Corval. Chen's eyes narrowed. Why would one Confederation fleet attack another? Because we are not Confederation, Zexral replied. We are dissidents. We have opposed the Council's extinction policies for centuries. Your resistance has given our movement the opportunity we've awaited. The revelation stunned Thunderchild's bridge crew. The monolithic Galactic Confederation, which had presented itself as the unified voice of advanced civilization, was actually fractured by internal political divisions. You expect us to trust you? Chen asked skeptically. No, Zexral answered. I expect you to survive. Fight alongside us or fight alone. The choice is yours. But know that Corval's fleet is merely the vanguard. If he establishes a foothold in your system, 1,000 more ships will follow. Chen didn't need long to decide. Thunderchild was damaged, Earth's defenses were shattered, and humanity needed time to develop its new weapons. A temporary alliance, however uncertain, offered that time. We accept your assistance, Commander Zexral, she said. But understand this. Earth will never submit to any alien authority, confederation, or dissident. Zexral made a gesture that the translator identified as respectful acknowledgement. Your independence is precisely why we offer alliance, human. Your species has accomplished in decades what others could not in millennia. The future of the galaxy may depend on what humanity becomes. With the arrival of the dissident fleet, the battle shifted dramatically. Caught between Zexral's forces and the surprisingly lethal human vessel, Admiral Corval's armada began to falter. Thunderchild, despite its damage, continued to fight. Captain Chen coordinated attacks with the dissident vessels, targeting critical Confederation ships and using the Spectre drive to appear where the enemy least expected. Admiral Corval, watching his fleet disintegrate around him, made a final desperate decision. Set course for Earth. Maximum velocity. We will complete our mission even at the cost of our lives. The righteous Dominion broke away from the battle, accelerating toward Earth's atmosphere. If it impacted or detonated its main power core, the devastation would be catastrophic. Thunderchild, the flagship is making a suicide run on your homeworld, Zexral warned. We cannot intercept in time. Captain Chen's response was immediate. Pursue and engage. All power to the Spectre drive. Captain, Takashi warned, another jump could overload the core. We might not survive. Chen met his gaze steadily. If that ship reaches Earth, millions won't survive. Make the jump, Lieutenant. Thunderchild's damaged drive engaged one final time, catapulting the human vessel directly into the righteous Dominion's path. The two ships collided in Earth's upper atmosphere, a catastrophic impact that sent both careening toward the Pacific Ocean. In the chaotic minutes that followed, Earth lost contact with Thunderchild. The experimental vessel, humanity's greatest achievement and last hope, had disappeared from all sensors. Humanity ascended. 3 months after the Battle of Earth, the war continued. The dissident fleet, true to Commander Zexral's word, had established a defensive perimeter around the Sol system, giving humanity precious time to prepare for the inevitable Confederation counterattack. Inside the vast asteroid that had once been Ceres, now converted into humanity's largest shipyard, General Davis reviewed progress reports with Dr. Volkov. Around them, construction drones swarmed over the skeletons of new warships, vessels that incorporated both the recovered Antarctic technology and innovations derived from studying dissident craft. Production is ahead of schedule, Volkov reported. The first squadron will be operational within 2 weeks. With the dissident technical assistance, we've solved the stability issues in the Spectre drive. Davis nodded, but her expression remained grim. Will it be enough? According to Zexral, the Confederation has dispatched their Grand Armada, over 200 warships. It will have to be, Volkov replied. And remember, we have one advantage they don't expect. A communication alert interrupted them. General, we're receiving a transmission, announced the operations officer. It's coming from the Kuiper Belt, ma'am. Thunderchild's recognition code. Davis and Volkov exchanged shocked glances. Put it through. The screen flickered, revealing the face of Captain Maya Chen. Alive, though visibly scared. Behind her was Thunderchild's bridge, damaged but functional. General Davis. Chen greeted. Sorry for the delay in reporting. We've been busy. Captain Chen. We thought you were lost with the Confederation flagship, Davis exclaimed. Chen smiled grimly. Not lost, General. Just taking an unexpected detour. When we collided with the Righteous Dominion, our Spectre drive malfunctioned. Instead of destruction, we experienced a cascading phase shift that threw us to the edge of the solar system. And you've been there for 3 months. Volkov asked incredulously. No, Chen replied. We've been in Confederation space. The revelation silenced the room. Chen continued. The damaged drive couldn't bring us home immediately, but it could make short jumps. So we decided to gather intelligence. We've mapped their fleet deployments, defense systems, and, most importantly, we've identified their central command world. She transmitted a data packet that contained detailed scans of Confederation territory, information that would have taken years to gather otherwise. There's more, Chen added. We discovered why the Confederation is so afraid of humans. It's not just our unpredictability or aggression. She hesitated. They've encountered our DNA before. Chen explained what Thunderchild had discovered during its incursion into Confederation space. Ancient records indicated that a species genetically similar to humans had existed over 50,000 years ago. A species that had nearly destroyed the early Confederation in a war so devastating that most details had been purged from official history. These progenitors had eventually disappeared, but their genetic legacy had apparently continued on a small blue planet in an unremarkable star system. That's why the Antarctic technology was compatible with human physiology, Volkov realized. It wasn't alien at all. It was made by our ancestors, and why they were so quick to vote for our extinction. Davis added, they fear we're the return of their ancient enemy. Chen nodded. The dissidents believed the progenitors were actually trying to save the galaxy from something worse, something the Confederation Council has been hiding for millennia. That's the real reason for the schism. With Thunderchild's intelligence and the newly constructed human fleet, the combined human dissident forces launched a bold counteroffensive. Instead of waiting for the Confederation attack, they would strike at the heart of enemy territory. Captain Chen, her ship repaired and upgraded, led the assault. The new human vessels, each equipped with refined Spectre drives and quantum disruptors, proved devastatingly effective against Confederation defenses that had never adapted to face such technologies. The decisive battle took place in orbit around Helix Prime, the Confederation's central command world. The Grand Armada, caught unprepared by the audacity of a direct attack on their capital, struggled to mount an effective defense. Aboard Thunderchild, Captain Chen coordinated the human dissident attack formation. All ships commence phase shift assault pattern. Target their command and control nodes first. The human fleet performed maneuvers that defied conventional space combat doctrine, appearing and disappearing across the battlefield, striking from impossible angles, coordinating attacks with precision that stunned Confederation tacticians. They fight like the progenitors, observed an ancient Confederation counselor watching the battle from the planetary defense bunker. It is as we feared. The cycle begins again. As the battle reached its climax, Thunderchild and Commander Zexral's flagship broke through the Confederation lines and established orbit directly above the Council's fortress. Chen opened a direct communication channel to the Confederation leadership. This is Captain Maya Chen of Earth, she announced. Your fleets are defeated. Your defenses have failed. We now offer you the choice you denied us: surrender or destruction. There was a long silence before the reply came. We will speak with your leaders, the Council's supreme arbiter finally stated. 72 hours later, representatives from Earth, the dissidents, and the Confederation Council gathered for negotiations. General Davis led the human delegation, with Captain Chen at her side. "The war ends today," Davis declared, "but the terms must recognize humanity's sovereignty and our right to expand peacefully through the galaxy." The Confederation representatives, faced with the first military defeat in their history, had little choice but to agree. The treaty that emerged recognized Earth as an independent power, granted humans access to interstellar trade networks, and established a new political structure that balanced power between the former Confederation worlds and the emerging human sphere of influence. But perhaps most significantly, the treaty included provisions for a joint investigation into the ancient threat that had caused the Progenitor War, the secret the Confederation Council had kept hidden for 50 millennia. As the delegations prepared to depart, Commander Zexrel approached Captain Chen. "Your species accomplished in months what mine could not in centuries," the dissident leader observed. "You've changed the galaxy forever." Chen looked out at the stars visible through the station's viewport. "Humans have always been good at adaptation, at survival, at finding ways to overcome impossible odds." She turned to Zexrel. "But our greatest strength isn't our technology or our determination." "What is it then?" Zexrel asked. Chen smiled. "Hope. No matter how dark things get, humans never stop hoping for a better tomorrow. And we never stop fighting to make that hope reality." As Captain Chen returned to Thunderchild, preparation began for the vessel's journey home. The experimental ship that had saved humanity would now lead them into a new era of galactic exploration and discovery. Earth had not only survived its first contact with alien civilization, it had emerged as a power that would shape the future of the galaxy. And somewhere in the vast unknown of space, the legacy of the progenitors awaited discovery by their descendants. Humanity's greatest journey was just beginning.